Alright, for those watching back, there's a decent chance for amount of people quit out on us. Let's be real. I'm still low enough. Probably gonna be punching down. But hopefully there's some good ones in here. We can hang out and have conversation. Yep. I'll be a little surprised if this person doesn't quit out. Hey, Min, pleasey. I call Captain. Welcome. Yeah, let's try out the new one. You and me both cracked. I did get it, but I'm gonna sit on it for a little while. Because some of my best options I wouldn't even need to use if I get lucky with the Titan a few more times. Hey, Misty. I end up spending. I mean, I'm talking about an awakening gems, so and I have a 7-star Nefaria, so yeah. Yes, something is definitely up with the leader. Am I finding the new tactic? It's harder than the last one. I definitely think it's manageable. There's a significant learning curve, for sure. I should have just blocked it. Would have been cleaner. Yeah, that would have been a pretty clean. I think that would have been 50k. If not, it would have been very close if I just blocked the special 2 instead. Luke Cage is not a champion that I can use the Saga gem on, Min. Hey, Pi. Did you're welcome. I mean, that's the thing, Cracked, is that like I don't have anybody that I'm jumping to use the gem on, although leader is tempting. Um, but like it's not gonna go out of style because worst case scenario, it works on like Weapon X and Jess down the line. And I have an Ultron now. Oh, well, that's not true, man. Kushala's in the pool. Hey, Stephen, happy Friday. Yeah, and that was the other one I was thinking of and forgetting, Aiden, is that Awakening Sinister is a pretty easy slam dunk as well. Thanks, Blazy, I chuckled. Just everything is broken around X-Breed triggers. It makes no sense. Because Onslaught's not supposed to get that stun there. Hey, buddy. Not great. That's what happens when she's a jerk. Thanks, Misty. My grandfather gave me money after I volunteered to help him last week. Nice, Aiden. Suppose that makes sense, man. I don't think I'd ever do that, though, because if I have a Gambit relic that offers a significant amount of physical resist, that means I have another mutant I can be giving crit rating. And in my opinion, basically the only place Onslaught really cares about special crits is his special 2, which I'm pretty sure is all energy. Who'd I use my Saga Sigstones on? Haven't used them yet. Because that's going to depend on where the gem goes, right? If it goes to Ultron, then they're all for him, because I have to get him as high as possible. If I use it on somebody like Leader for the Steadfast, on the other hand, then yeah, I could put the Sigs in Kushala. We'll see. That was quick. We're going to have a few of those. Forgot to salute our last opponent for holding on. I respect it. Pretty sure the farming part comes from losing, Aiden. I know you're kidding. Yeah, the Ultron was very nice to see. I know I'm facing people with small Battlegrounds decks, so take this with a grain of salt. I don't understand why in this meta you would only have 4 science champions in your deck. Like, it's too easy for me to hamstring you. No pun intended. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna grab Viv. We have the room for it, and if they place that kingpin down, I want to do that. Hey, bed. Oh, fun, men. We're going straight for the let's start fight questions today. Give me a sec. I'll talk about that after this match. I will probably misspeak or misplay if I try and do them at the same time. Congrats, Skills. Those are great pulls. Took a Zemo with Viv. I've done that fight too. It's quite all or nothing. Buff champions are subject to rebalancing. Ever since around Luke. Bullseye is tough this meta. I haven't done it successfully yet because I've only faced 2 bullseyes, and so I tried a couple different things. But I think science champs are actually probably your best bets. Somebody like Photon or Luke Cage. Oh, I know what you're responding to, Min. I don't. I do want you to realize what you are asking. Hey, Nick, buddy, do you mind? That was my fault. No, you absolute jerk. Throw your special too. You're sitting on it. You're unblockable. You're supposed to be more likely to throw it. It is in your code, so what the actual hell is your excuse? God, we're lucky we're punching down on this one. Right, MSD? Like, that's not how Wolf versus Nick is supposed to go. I made some mistakes there, especially towards the end. I did get flustered, but just... Yeah. I think I drafted too many defenders, but that's okay. Ooh, thank you. This is what I wanted to test. Yeah, it was awfully considerate. I don't know what I just did. That's okay. We're testing. Okay, this is going to be a special 1 kill. It's literally my first time playing Silk since I pulled the 7-star. I didn't even realize that, Madrox. Yeah. Oops. Need to tag them later. Yeah, I think that's perfectly valid, Shark. This is a bit of a tough meta for Bullseye. If you don't have his counters, ban him. It's like not an interesting contribution, Mickey. Like I understand it's the usual laugh line, but like there are patterns to the AI, right? I've fought Nick a dozen times. That's not what it normally looks like. I've used Wolf against Nick before. That's not what it looks like. Like that is an outlier. And when we just go, her, it's crap all the time, like we lose the ability to talk about outliers. We lose the ability to talk about nuance. We lose the ability to actually change things. And so like yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm pushing back pretty hard, but I don't like that kind of discussion. Hey, Braxis. Yeah, I did. I put down some money. Yeah, I know. I was intending to go for the special too, Gonzo, and I went into the heavy stuff late. But I appreciate the breakdown. They're at least running good science champions. They've got their stat focus picked out. Respect to this opponent. Yeah, my October champ is She-Hulk. MSD, while you're here, I'm curious. What's the highest Fury count you've ever gotten with She-Hulk? That'd be neat, MSD. Hope so. Okay, so you have hit that. How did you survive getting hit for the 99? Or am I forgetting a fourth one? Because, let's be real. It could be. Her code is interesting. Excuse me, I am clicking wolf. Alright, well, sure. That's fine. Heavy unstoppable for the hits. Okay, cool. So you haven't hit the ceiling. Because the Fury for getting hit is a separate one that is also stackable to 99. So I was curious. I forgot that the unstoppable removal, that was the fourth one I was thinking of. Yeah, because her cap is technically 396. I don't even know what I'm picking here, so it's just that's slightly rude to our opponent. I should be paying more attention, but I'll admit I wasn't. We're talking math now. Yeah, I forgot. I knew there was a fourth one, like intellectually, but I couldn't remember where it was. But that makes sense. That should probably just be a clean bill for them, but I'm curious. Because she should mess with his rotation a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I know that the ceiling isn't remotely achievable if you're actually using someone that you would like to win fights with, but I was curious. No, 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 no! What? No! Why? Oh, that was so bad. That one's going to engineering today. Jesus Christ. Who says she has Furies at all, Black Hole? I did mostly make that comment for MSD because he's been speculating on the kit, but he's always had Furies. I'm looking forward to the messages I get later. Hey, Double Dog, how's it going? Hey, JJ. I mean, it depends on what metrics you use, Shark. I don't really think it's terribly useful to try and pick a top 10 in the game. Like you could probably say, sure, if you're looking for like reliable damage relative to hit count, yeah, werewolf's in the top 10. But like, how helpful is that? It is not currently announced who's designing Deathless Thanos. We prefer not to get the focus drawn too far off the next upcoming characters. Like, there's a reason that I didn't say my next character was a Deathless until she was announced. Prowess would be pretty weird on a science champ. She-Hulk is the last before Thanos. Let's see how I deal with a serpent without any mystics. It's going to be interesting. I've just been thrown for the most violent loop. Hey, Eris, how's it going? Welcome, Images. That was my fault. I forgot about that. Okay. Hang it. Okay. I honestly completely forgot about my inability to convert with the heavy, and so this, or with the heavy charge, and so this is not something I will be repeating. It was close, though. I could have done better, and I could have won, but that's fine. Lesson learned. Oh, I know negative has bad block proficiency. That wouldn't have mattered if we had been able to get out a special 2 actually supercharged. That was just a bad matchup, and that's okay. I don't mind learning that stuff. Feeling pretty decent about the last round. Thanks, Eris. That stuff's been brought up eternity. But I appreciate the shout. Interesting. Okay, that would have been very interesting. We will have to go quick to win this one. Wilson! Wilson, I swear to God. She really is, Kevin. That 10-second tilt, or that 10-second bait had me so tilted. That could have been close to 51. Yeah, 7. Kingpin is Wilson Fisk. Viv. Hey. I think one of the silliest things about Kingpin's story is that his name sounds so aristocratic, which like makes sense because he's the Kingpin. He wears a white suit. But then you learn that his backstory is that he was like a poor kid with a shitty father. Sorry, broke my own filter. Um, but like, it's still his real name. Like, I don't know, his name wasn't like something more stereotypically, quote, lower class or something, and then he just adopted Wilson Fisk. It's like, no, his name is Wilson Fisk. Very funny. To me, at least. Who's my favorite trophy champion? There are a lot of good ones. Jessica has a special place in my heart. Take care, Viraxis. Catch you later. I don't even know what to pick. Hey, man. I mean, I'm pretty sure the out-of-universe explanation, Eris, is just that his real name was picked by an author who wasn't thinking about that backstory, but I reserve the right to make fun of it. Yeah, I also think it being a chosen name would fit. I'm fine with what they went with, but you know, it sticks out to me. Did I have a chance to draft Patriot and pass him up? That's a little bit unfortunate. I think we just grab Kate here. I mean, they didn't take Photon anyway, which lightly surprises me. We both know that Dust is coming out. Might as well do it now, right? Guess not. Okay, our opponent is farming. Fun. So I'm not really going to be able to test anything. That's not even close to what I was actively clicking before we got to 1 second left, but sure, let's give it a go. Nope. Not that I was planning on using Serpent, but noted that it is difficult to ramp him more quickly by keeping an opponent in the corner in this meta. honestly not terrible for an unduped serpent fighting through inequity. We at least get to test this. I know if Jaeger is here, he's screaming Luke Cage, but I know that works. This one I want to try. So actually not great with the immunity to nullify. I think he's actually a little bit weaker here than he is up there. Definitely serviceable, right? But noting that. Okay, oxygen. That's good, Eric. Not too bad, Nixon. We definitely ran into a few lessons learned the hard way, but we did come out on top. We'll go from there. This is my obligatory shade at people who don't place any tactic defenders in off-season. It's weak and you should feel bad. Do I see anyone else I need to deal with? Maybe CGR instead of Titanium? Nah, that's probably fine. Let them go. That's awesome, Nixon. Will is good people. If you're asking for me here, Black Hole, probably on offense, but I suppose it's possible. I shouldn't have drafted Penny early. She should always be a late one. That's on me. Never draft Penny early. Hey, Vega. We do recruit oxygen, but honestly, it's like the wait list is always pretty tight. Um, our turnover's been low lately, and we normally already know when the season ends who the top 2 or 3 options are going to be for the next one. They're trying to lose, right? Yeah, they're trying to lose. This is just active sandbagging to try and dodge. Weak. Oh, misjudged. I have to admit, I've seen her so little. I don't remember most of the time what her special 2 even looks like or when it finishes. I thought there was one more hit. What's the purpose of Vox's pre-fight ability? You can go super edgy and stack more precisions from the Dex Mastery. That's basically it. Hey, Mike. Thanks for being a member, man. I did the store event. Depression. Just meaning the game as a whole. There are definitely places where Nefario can work on defense, yeah. Like at his core, he can reverse your willpower. You combine that with kind of spooky special animations. There are things. Hey, BT. Hey, MK. I can't believe they actually fought that. I guess our opponent is just tired of very clearly farming points. Wants to feel something, so they try and see how far they can go with Doom versus. Like, I'm tempted to throw down Penny, but we don't need to make life easy for them. Maybe they were just throwing the first round, in which case we really don't want to make life easy for them. Fine, but dumb. Am I alone in thinking it's weird when champs have nothing on their heavy attack? You're definitely not alone, but I will say as a designer, sometimes I think it is completely the right move. Because you shouldn't ever force something onto their heavy attack, right? Like, because that's just how you. There are a lot of triggers that you can put abilities on as a designer. You should not look at it as a checklist, right? You should never be like, well, each special needs to do at least two things, and like there should be something on combo enders and the heavies, and make sure there's a difference between the mediums and the lights, and maybe something on dashback or intercept. Like, those are all valid triggers. But the minute you see it as a checklist, the minute you stop chasing actual organic or interesting gameplay, and you are just going to end up creating a character that is too rigid to play, right? Because everybody's constantly going to be thinking about juggling their various triggers. It's an easy trap to fall into, but an important one to avoid. Call out to the face. As in like an Easter egg? The relic doesn't really matter. Stat focus, in my opinion, is definitely crit rate. Like, I don't think I put anything on Serpent's heavy, right? Does he need another ability? All right, well, shame. Yes. Eris is biased. No problem, Mike. If Serpent finishes his heavy, he gets an Amplify passive with 50% potency. We like units. It is almost noon. I'm gonna have to go after this one. 6-star Ghost Rider relic. I mean, it's kind of just a generically good relic for Mystics. I would recommend using it on somebody with damage over time abilities, is I think the key component. 1 second. Bloop bloop. Cool. I respect the Luke Cage. You get one. Yeah, like Werewolf can work quite well with it. Um, if you're not using any of the actual targets, I would just pick like a big, powerful Mystic with dot damage. Definitely grabbing Viv for that Sinister. And that Science Champion next. Yeah, but you see, you say that very confidently, Sophism. But I'm not sure you're right about it not making him broken. It's a very easy assertion to make. Like, just learn the skill ask. We already carved out a wider window. Why do you need more than that? But what do you mean you can't, right? Because like, are you not understanding the extra bit? Like you don't have to parry Cyclops' triple special. Like you can throw the parry and it will do it after the last one. What specials can't you parry the last hit? I honestly don't know if I'm going to win this one, but I'll give it a shot. Jerk. Yeah, well. Thanks for dashing back. I don't regret my choices. We were exactly as fast as we had to be. Oh, I can cut. I'll talk about that a little bit at the end, man. Yeah, we can close on that. Thank you for the reminder. There's no way that's what they're intending. Yeah, there we go. I do go Wolf over Luke here, right? Like, I'm honestly unsure. Yeah, it's a tough one, Tilapia. Jerk. What? know I waited a split second, but are you serious, bud? No, no, I hit the button. I hit the button. I hit the button 4 times. All right, all right, all right. This one is my fault. Clearly, I should have just used Luke. Thanks, Sting. I have been working on his stats. All right, well, bravo, Onslaught. Okay. And bravo to our opponent. I really need to get better about using the cap consistently. Okay, so Min's question was basically why not tune up Destroyer, right? He's not the fastest war attacker. It's definitely like Destroyer's a little bit on the slow side for Battlegrounds, right? So why not make them faster? And bluntly, they just don't need it, right? Like in target matchups, they're already very, very quick. And the problem that people have is the outside target matchups, right? When the opponent isn't gaining buffs, when you don't have Mystic Dispersion, then it's like, well, it's so many bars of power, it takes so long. The problem is that, like, the core of the design is I want to build to a special 3 and then immediately throw a special 2. The core loop is 5 bars. And that means that like you can't speed that up too much because then you're allowing a character to have 5 bars unanswered. Like he also goes unblockable and gets an energize on top of that, right? Like there's so many things reinforcing that core loop that if you make it much more accessible, if you make it much easier than it currently is, you have someone you may not be able to stop in the future. Because remember, on top of that, the damage is all degen. It's all direct. It's not subject to resistances other than explicit degen resistance, which only a few champions have, and which basically only lives in science. We're not going to give a future cosmic degen resistance. It punches back too heavily against Mystic, right? Like, I say we're not, maybe at some point in the distant future, but it's not going to be common. If Destroyer gets too strong because we make things like too accessible there, the degen is just gonna be a menace. Unanswered, I mean you throw the special 3 and then you just get the special 2. Like the loop reinforces itself. I think it's very tempting when playing Destroyer to look at like how this could feel easier in the context of using them in a vanilla matchup where things aren't going perfectly and going, I wish this was a bit easier. But the problem is if it was a bit easier, they could just do it everywhere. And then you just like now you've tuned up a very Null's not really a cosmic champion, Pi. Let's be real. Null is a science champion with a blue filter. But like if you tune up Destroyer too much, now you have somebody with passive power gain, with like passive protection, with passive degen, with passive unblockable. The loop is too strong. It has too many guardrails already around it. If it's also fast, that's a huge problem for future design space. It's the same basic reason that Sandman was tuned back so that he needed, what is it, 8 heavies to fully ramp instead of 5. Because a character with that much control and with that many immunities does not also need to be a nuke. And while that means Destroyer isn't going to be the Battlegrounds nuke that people want, it's what the game needs. Because it doesn't take that long to get there if you're not just thinking about Battlegrounds, right? But that's because a character built around a 5-bar cash out is difficult to build for Battlegrounds. And like I think on some level y'all just need to accept that that's the choice the designer made. The designer wanted this idea. The designer wanted somebody who could be used for hazard shift. That's why they have all the immunities. Who could be used for armor break, cosmics. They wanted somebody who had that like intercept gameplay, and they wanted that cash out of the 5-bar or sometimes 7-bar kill loop. That has an incredible amount of reach, right? Because if you line it up properly, you throw a special 3 and then you get 2 unblockable special 2s, both of which kill. That's an absurd amount of reach. That is not something that we need to make reliably come online for 50-second kills. And the data reflects that. Like, Destroyer is not dominating in Battlegrounds in vanilla matchups, but Destroyer is doing very well in target matchups and is doing very well elsewhere. I don't really want to start an entire another design discussion as I'm trying to wind down and log off Sophism. But the simple answer is that it was necessary. If Serpent didn't have what he had, y'all wouldn't care. Like, that's why he's staying where he is. Because if Serpent had shipped with less, y'all would have solved him within a couple months and moved on and asked, when do we get more defenders? Serpent didn't even have the highest win rate last Battlegrounds. I'm not giving you raw data. I have not been cleared to do that by the balance program. But like whatever YouTubers you're watching that are claiming the balance program is lying to you when they say that, they're wrong. And that's also like that's the balance team's job. It's not the community's job to audit it. I realize that like people can say, "Oh, that's dismissive." Honestly, like it's their job. I've made this point in a couple venues recently, but like we appreciate community feedback. We do listen to it, right? I regularly sacrifice my own mental health to make sure I'm in tune with community feedback, and I'm not the only person at Kabam to do so. We do pay attention. But at the end of the game, or at the end of the day, our job is not to action on community feedback. Our job is to make a great game with staying power. And that means that we need to use our best judgment to chase that end. And that means a certain amount of the time we are going to disagree with the community. And that's not us being disrespectful of the community. That's not us being dismissive of the community. That's the buck stops here. And so we also make the calls. Only to a point, Tara. Like that's why we listen to it, right? But there's room in between a game that listens to community feedback and a game that is designed by committee, right? A great game is not one that does everything the players want. And that's not like I know some people are going to hear that and go because they have to make money, but that's not what I'm saying here, right? Even if this game was completely free and had no monetization avenues whatsoever, right? Or if this game was all of you had paid us $60 and like there was nothing anymore, right? Like basic game design requires tension. There have to be challenges for you to answer, or there's no, like, you're not going to stay around here doing this. You're going to leave and do something else that's more interesting because tension is interesting. And so, on some level, our jobs are to listen to what you're saying is bothering you and decide how much of that is necessary because some amount of it is. Trying to read back. I do need to go, so I'm probably not going to touch on everything. But, hey, Jason, thanks so much, man. Happy Friday. I appreciate it, Oxygen. The community team is doing their best, but it's also like it's very important to reiterate that the forums are a very different forum, so to speak, than y'all here, right? Like there are currently 55 people watching. I've developed something of a reputation for if you come here and are rude, you're hidden from the channel. Your right to participate in these conversations is revoked. I'm a little faster to do that than the forums, right? And people have to seek me out in the first place. Like this audience is more curated, is more focused, and is generally more engaged, right? Like there's a very low bar to entry for the forums, even though that is, a more engaged player than the average one who never logs on, right? But basically my point is that I have the freedom to say different things than what the community team can on the forums or in the official Reddit or on Twitter, right? I have more discretion to really get into the minutia here and have y'all respond in real time, and you get to hear the inflections in my voice, right? That is so huge. I know I get passionate and I sometimes get pointed, but like you can hear when I'm really making a point a la professor, as opposed to like you can tell I'm not just trying to condescend to you. And I think one of the biggest challenges the community team has on the forums is that when they try and say things very clearly, people go, well, their tone sucked. And it's like, it's text. The tone always sucks in text. Like, it's 2024. I've got news. It, I don't know. I have a lot of respect for them. They're doing their best. It's tough. I understand, Mickey. I know where the criticism is coming from on Serpent, and like he is absolutely on the line. It's even possible that, 2 years from now, we might think, well, maybe we should have tuned him down a little bit. But our best judgment right now says no. We need the design space he's creating. We need the meta shifts he's creating. He's doing exactly what he was designed to do. And we don't want to break that. We'll see. Absolutely, Tara. I tried to make a comment about that, but it was kind of buried in another sentence and it may not have been clear. Like, yeah, it's very important to note the official Discord, YouTube, forums, Twitter, like any venue that is players expressing their opinion is automatically a minority of players. A small self-selected minority of players. And so like that's why it's really important. You'll see I've seen some content creators be like, I just don't understand. We all feel this way. Why aren't they doing what we want? And the answer is because the all in that sentence, the all of you that feels that way, is a self-selected minority. We have to have the larger health of the game in mind. And I promise, like that, immediately the counter argument is going to be, but it's the most engaged minority. It's the most important minority. It's the minority that spends the most. And all three of those are assumptions that don't necessarily hold. We have to do what all of our metrics tell us is best, and we have to balance that with the expressed feedback. And it's a job that I don't think is possible to do perfectly, so I won't pretend that we are. But we really are coming at it with sincerity and with care. Because we know how important the job is at the end of the day. Tone doesn't always. I'm sorry, my microphone cut out there for a minute because my streaming deck did behind it. That happens sometimes. It certainly normally does. Maybe not always. But I think when tone doesn't suck in text, it's normally because people are doing a whole bunch of things to try and convey their tone. And like, if we put emojis in our official forum posts to better convey tone, I don't know how well it would go over. I would appreciate it. I love emojis in text to better convey tone, but you know, I'm a silly millennial. No, like Boris, I talked about this earlier this week, but like comparing Serpent to Hercules is a big mistake. Attack and defense just aren't really comparable there. The quickest way to explain it is that all that we really need to do to solve Serpent on defense is release a few more counters, right? Like there are already counters. If we want to solve him more thoroughly, we release a few more. I'm not going to give a precise number because like that stuff is also subjective. But like let's say upper end, we release maybe half a dozen more counters. That might be going too far. That might be overcorrecting for him and doing the penny thing. On the flip side, if we spend an entire year doing nothing but releasing defenders that Hercules, Juggernaut, Hulk, Kate, whatever, can't take, they can still take everyone else. Offense versus defense is not created equally here. Thank you so much for being a member, Tara. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry I was in the middle of a soapbox there. I'll just ban him till I pull him. Yeah. And yeah, Mickey D, we do too. And so I really do appreciate the trust. Yeah. That's exactly where I'm going at, Pablo. Yeah, they're definitely arguing from a Battlegrounds perspective, and that's why I've made this point before too. I think that Battlegrounds itself needs to change a little bit because I think right now the RNG is just too high. Like it's basically like if Magic the Gathering didn't have mulligan rules, right? And if any of you have played Magic the Gathering and like tried to hold yourself to not ever mulliganing, you're gonna have to play some really bad hands, and it's gonna make you feel like the opponent's cards are very unfair. But that's not a card design problem. That's a like mechanics problem. That's a system problem. And I do personally think that while there were too many defenders at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I don't think the defenders we have right now are a design problem. I think Battlegrounds has a systemic problem. That's very interesting, Vega. I'm not sure exactly which point that was in response to, because I could apply it to 3 or 4 of them, but that is a very interesting point about the ratio there. I really appreciate that, Tara. Now, why do you think Spiral is coming to the game, Davis? No, 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 no. My next champion is Deathless She-Hulk. Please don't kill Serpent like Defensive Penny. I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that we do not do that. There's definitely going to be a couple more. Thanks for the support, Aries. Are there any really good Battlegrounds relevant champs with Petrify to deal with Serpent's power gain? I mean, it doesn't have to be Petrify, right? Like, that's why America Chavez works. I've seen people use Spidey Supreme, which... That's brave. It's not stupid, but it is brave. Because both of those have non-Petrify ability power rate counters, right? But, like, Count Nefaria works for similar reasons. I tried Mr. Negative today and honestly forgot about the evade conversion, so I wouldn't recommend that one. But there are some others, like Luke also has ability power rate down, etc., etc. Yeah, it definitely is interesting to hear people argue the exact opposite. We all agree statements. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. That definitely felt the most relevant. Um, if you're talking about the invisible stuff, Roz, I think I told you last month, like, that's not something I can fix. It has been reported. I thought it would be fixed now, but that stuff has to be fixed on a client level, so it's not something that we can just hot fix. Hey, Oracle. No, I don't. The Battlegrounds format is not set in stone. Um, we want to be careful with further changes because it is quite successful at this point, right? But that doesn't mean that it's set in stone. Would Starkey work if you save the heavy power drain? Probably not for Serpent because Serpent does hit power drain since it's a more tech ability. Spidey Supreme didn't have the help of paper, he'd be a great counter. I've still seen it work, but yeah, that is the rub, isn't it? What are the potential benefits of releasing more defenders instead of slowing the pace? I mean, it creates design space instantly, right? That is something that we have benefited from. Like, Shothra's an okay Serpent counter, but like she was designed instantly as a Maestro counter. There's instant benefit from anyone who answers Bullseye, Onslaught, Maestro, Serpent, Enchantress, right? And so more of those makes that better, right? It means that if you do go after a new champion that excites you, you probably don't run into the, well, now where do I use them problem. And I consider that player beneficial as well as Kabam beneficial. Like, if somebody new comes out and you're excited about them, you should be able to use them and feel good about it. So, like, that's the benefit. The downside and the reason we decided to slow things is that it's just too much to process, right? Like, it's too much to learn for players, and it's also too much for us to learn and counter as designers. We don't have time to counter all of the defenders if we keep releasing too many. I definitely think more stall threats are in order, Pablo, yes. Because like that's been one of the biggest things that people complain about with Serpent is just, oh, he takes too long to kill. It's not that bad to fight, but he takes too long to kill. And it's like that's the point. That's the whole point. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. My personal 2 cents is I also think that the health in Battlegrounds needs to go up. But I realize that that's, people feel differently about that. And I think if we turn it up, we wouldn't want to do it as a permanent change. We would be like, hey, for next season, they have an extra 50% health. Let's see how it works. But we don't like set it up as a all-time thing. I just think that's a dial we should move more often. Anyway, I've now been talking for a full 20-25 minutes past when I said I should go to work. So I'm glad that this has been a good discussion. I won't call it a waste of time by any means, but I do have to get going. Thanks all, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.